Welcome to Quack Co, where every video is less than 10 minutes guaranteed. And we're here, we're Legendary Tactics, and we're taking over the channel this week. So my name's Nato.
I'm Flash. I'm Cax.
And we are going to be talking about Bus today.
Now today, Quackalope has he's played Bus with us, which he claims is his favorite game of all time.
Number one.
And he's asked us what our thoughts are and if we agree with him or not. And we are not being censored here. We have free reign to say what we will. Cax, why don't you start us off with your impressions of the game?
Okay, so very first blush, when I sat down for this game, we started going over the mechanics. It had a real Ticket to Ride vibe to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just the line placements, delivering. It's a neutral comment right now, I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Ticket to Ride's a great game. Nothing wrong with Ticket to Ride. Then I realized there's a bit more depth to it. You've got your ability choosing powers here that were the drafting mechanic, and that was like, okay, that's the next level.
That reminds me of Viticulture, where you're placing your people to claim what action you want.
Yeah,
and I love Viticulture.
Well, any worker placement game, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. And then, honestly, my first impression was kind of writing it off, because it was like, the box is not really overly compelling. It just, the white box back into it. I'm like, okay, fun little game, okay, Quackalope's favorite, then we started getting into it. I'm like, oh, wait a second, it's got some teeth.
Yes,
Yep.
There's some meat on them bones.
They're big time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my initial impressions are not good of this game. I mean, the meeples, I think, don't scream at me, I need to buy this game right away. When I lay it on the table, the board isn't that impressive. I look at the action selection over here. Just overall, the aesthetics are a bit of a turnoff for me. But like you, when I started to play it, I love this kind of game. This kind of game is what gets me fired up. When the rulebook is exactly this long.
Yeah.
There's nothing
4
there.
pages.
It's so simple. It's really clear what your actions are, the sequence that they happen in, and that it just gives you options, throws you into a fight, and says, "Good luck, go to town."
And figure it out.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Now it is a little bit harsh in a sense, because it reminded me a little bit more of Puerto Rico from the perspective that with Puerto Rico, I remember that was one of the games that really got us back into the hobby after we've been away for a period of time. And what really was so compelling about Puerto Rico for me was you could play through a game, and then you could pinpoint the moment on turn 3 when you lost. And I really liked that aspect, that it really felt like the entire game was in my control. And yeah, I may have made a mistake or a decision that maybe wasn't optimal, but that's in my purview. I control that. And this one, in the game we played, I lost on turn 1 because of because the whole map changed from that point. Because if I had taken starting player, expanded my lines right away, the map would have looked completely different. It would have been a completely different setup. And so
you're a winner in my books based on your final decision in that playthrough.
Yes, thanks. So. But it wasn't whether I would have won or lost. That was the moment I did lose. Right?
Yep.
I don't know whether I would have gone on to win, but it was a moment where I'm like, yeah, you know what? If I'm in that situation next time, I will play differently, and I like that aspect.
Well, hindsight is 20/20, and I find that, like Puerto Rico too, this game is a game about planning the sequence of actions that you want to take. So you say, first I need to do this, but you have to imagine forward, and this is where it was really helpful as a first-time player to have Quackalope guiding us through and suggesting, here are some of the options that you have. And I love that, because it's a suggestion of strategy, but you are ultimately the decision maker, and you sequence your play, it plays out, you get hosed multiple times over like I did, and you still have a lot of fun. And to me, I love a game where I get completely attacked by everybody, and even when I don't do well, and I just still have a lot of fun.
So one thing I absolutely thought was brilliant with this game is this whole pulling the freeze before the time stop mechanic.
It needs that. It has to have that mechanic.
Oh, brilliant. And what was so awesome was, you'd build up your room, which is basically the deliver the people to their stops option, which is after the time stop, right? So then you can, and then someone would just come up and just, okay, now we're gonna really just
mess with
pull the lever here and see what happens.
Matrix here, and it's also something where you don't have to pull. The lever. You choose to at that moment, which is, I think, great.
So you go through a series of other actions before you get to that decision,
you
right?
see how it looks, and then you're like, oh, maybe it doesn't make sense to do that anymore.
So I had one favorite moment that I want to share with you in this game, and that was the moment where I took the starting player token, and I looked over at Quackalope, and he looked at me because he knew what I had done. In his next turn, he really, really needed a bus, and he really, really needed a vroom. And by doing that one innocuous action, it forced that choice where he's torn between, do I do this, do I do that? And that's what's fun in this game, is choosing your path and knowing you probably chose the wrong path, but doing it anyways.
Yes.
Did you guys have a favorite moment that stood out, or do you have any other critiques of the game?
I think the memorable moment for me was where, and it was almost an innocuous play. I was building my line, and I built right into, and again, it was Quackalope's play, and he had that all set up. He had it was all mapped out, and then it was just like, nah, now I gotta do something else, right? So just that monkey wrench, and I think because the board's so tight, and someone else mentioned it, it's like a knife fight in a phone booth. You have no room, and you got to really, really navigate as best as you can to kind of carve out your own area and not try to overlap too much, I think.
That's right. And Quackalope calls this game really elegant and really beautiful. And I think it is because I love how the infrastructure of the board develops real time, where you think you've got a wonderful play set up and somebody places a line and suddenly steals your meeples away, and you realize you're caught holding the bag. And it's I think it's a beautiful dynamic, really compact. Loved it overall.
Yeah, my favorite moment, I had to live basically vicariously through the other players. I would have to say my favorite moment from my gameplay is when I delivered to people.
That was heroic. Well done.
It was really well done. You did a good job.
Thank you.
So there's one other major problem. We should probably end with this. We need a republishing of this game so that people can actually get out and
accessibility.
Buy the game. And I would argue that, I don't love...
Maybe reskin it, eh?
I don't love the pieces. So I hope they do a deluxe edition.
Oh, a deluxe
something
edition.
with a really fancy bus and with... I don't know.
Well, one thing Nato and I sort of complained about was if you look at the two tokens, which is home and work, they're very, very closely they're just the colors they chose, but it
could
not have
potentially result in mistakes in play because it's close and enough that it could be mistaken.
So that was one area we thought, okay, maybe just retool some of those little details to really make this game shine.
Aesthetics aside, beautiful game. Loved it. Thanks so much for joining us. Make sure you get out and play games, and remember, the more time. Do you remember the slogan?
the more time you, less time you watch videos, the more you play games. Something like that.
I'm paraphrasing again. Get your editor to cut me.
And be kind.
And what was this phrase again? The more time. It's just live, isn't it? Yeah. I love it. The effect is stop watching this video.
Go
play some board games.
Absolutely.
That's it.